Hey guys, it's me, Daryl. It's Wednesday, and I'm thrilled to be back here to talk about learning by doing. So, my question for you guys today is a simple one. And even before I ask it, I think it's important that you guys know why I ask these questions. I truly want this to be an opportunity for you to reflect. I do these videos and ask these questions so that hopefully it sparks something in you. It plants a seed. It makes you think about something a little differently than you did before. So I love the idea of getting comments. I love conversations that come out of people answering these questions live and even watching on the recordings and the comments. But even when that doesn't happen, hopefully the questions give you something to think about in your own life, in your own business, something of value for you. So here's my question this week. When was the last time you learned something by simply doing it? Where you didn't have all the answers, you didn't have it all figured out, but you said yes anyway. When was the last time you learned something by simply doing it? And what was that experience like for you? So, for those of you that know me, my name is Daryl Sweeney. I am a business coach. I work with entrepreneurs, I work with leaders, I work with ambitious professionals who are out there driving towards building the business they really want, the life they really want, the team, the culture, um, everything they really want, right? The clients I work with get after it and want to get after it and have that yearning for doing something bigger or better or feeling better about what they're doing. They have a vision that they want to chase, and I help them do that. So, my question this week is when's the last time you did something or you learned something by simply just doing it, by just saying yes, going after it, and figuring it out in the moment? And the reason I ask this question is because it is so powerful to learn in an experiential way, right? It is one of the fastest ways to growth, one of the fastest ways to new insights, one of the fastest ways to new opportunities, right? And usually what's waiting on the other side of just doing it are things you could have never planned on a piece of paper in front of your computer. So, but so many of us shy away from it. Despite all those advantages, so many of us shy away from this idea of I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to figure it out on the fly, right? I'm going to figure it out live. I'm going to just do it and see what happens. And it makes sense, right? Because it's scary. A lot of times, kind of in this context, a lot of times the thing we're thinking about doing or the things we want to learn about or the things we want to be prepared for are brand new to us. And the idea of not having all the answers, the idea of it being way too risky or not knowing the response it's going to get is scary, right? And that fear keeps us trapped. That fear slows us down, right? So instead, we turn and we do more research, right? We ask more people. We look for experts, right? My wife sometimes accuses me of researching things to the end of the internet, right? So we need to get all the information, all the facts. I have to know all the what ifs before I jump in and simply do something. And sometimes that serves us. So please don't hear me advising you to get out there and throw caution to the wind, risk everything, and just say yes no matter what. That's not what I'm saying. Right? But there are moments in our lives where we could be better served if we just say yes, we just jump in. So, how do we know the difference? How do we know the difference between a moment that requires the research, requires the diligence, versus those that we may be better served by just jumping right in? For me, I ask myself a simple question, and it always comes down to this: what's the worst that can happen? Right? So, if I'm in a situation and somebody came up to me tomorrow and said, "Hey, I've got this great business idea and I love the thought of you being a co-founder. Let's go start this business." And it interested me. Well, that's probably not something I'm going to jump right into. Right? What's the worst that can happen? Well, I could get further away from doing this, something I'm deeply passionate about, and that is coaching and serving others. Right? This is the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. So if I went and started another business, could I continue to do this? Maybe not. What impact would that have on my family? What impact would that have on my joy, my happiness, my balance, the things that I've fought so hard to get in my life? So those are all things that could be considered. And those are all things that I'm not willing to lose. So saying yes to something like that would require the diligence. On the other hand, there are so many questions, there's so many opportunities every single day that we can learn from just by doing them. Right? So if I ask myself that question, that discernment question, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? People may not respond. People may not show up. Right? How many times have we not done an event or a marketing thing or a speech or a talk or raised our hand or got up on stage because we're worried nobody would listen or nobody would show up or people might think of us differently or people might laugh at us. How many times have we said no? How many times have we shrunk in the moment because of these fears of what might happen? And if the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody laughs at us or people don't show up to my event or people don't respond to my email or my offer or my phone call, in my life, I'm at the point where those things don't define me. Those things don't necessarily say something about me. And I'm okay with that. So then I say yes and I jump in. A great example is Clubhouse. I've talked to you all last week about Clubhouse. I told you that I was excited and intrigued on what that could mean for me personally, for my growth, my development, and for my business. So instead of researching the heck out of it, I just said yes. I started a room. I launched a room. I announced that last week. And it happened this morning. So Christina, another incredible coach. She's a mindset coach and she's phenomenal. Another coach came in and her and I did some live coaching. And we came up with an idea. We volleyed back the ideas for a week or so. And we said, okay, let's just do it and see what happens. Right? We talked about it. We marketed it a bit on our social media networks and an email. And we said, hey, let's show up and see what happens. I had no idea if one person would show up. And there was a bigger question. If they showed up, would anybody be willing to raise their hand and get coached on stage? Because we wanted this to be a room which made coaching more accessible. We wanted this to be a room where people could experience coaching in a safe way, in a low pressure way, and start to ask themselves, is there value in this for me? Is this something I could use? Do I enjoy this? Do I like the thought of it? Um, and we did that. And guys, here's what happened. We had a few people in. We had, I mean, and I say a few people, I think at the highest point, we had 7 people engaged in the room, right? So it wasn't a room of 30 or 50 or 100 or anything else, but it was never about that. 2 people raised their hands. Well, one person raised their hand to be coached, and she came up on stage and she brought a real topic. She brought something that was challenging her and made some real progress in about 20 minutes. And everybody else in the room got to see what coaching is, got to see the impact of coaching firsthand in a very safe way. Somebody else after that came up on stage and said, man, that person's story so resonated deeply with what I'm going through in my job and my work that I just wanted to come in and thank you guys for doing this. And little did she know, she walked herself right into coaching. We asked her a couple questions, and next thing you know, she was making progress on her own issue. 2 people got deep access to ideas, deep access to value, deep access to perspective and a new lens to look through because they said yes, right? They said yes to coming to the room. They said yes to getting up on stage, and they were open to the possibility of what was happening next. They walked out of there with value that cost them nothing but a little bit of their time. Deep value that just might change everything for them and for the people they serve. They're both leaders in their organizations. As far as Christina and myself, we got to see that, hey, this idea we have about opening up a room and making coaching accessible. And instead of talking about what coaching is, by actually demonstrating coaching, that there was value there, that people responded to it, that people liked it, that people enjoyed it. And so we're going to do it again. We committed to doing it for a month to see what happens. We learned some things. There were things we're going to tweak, things we're going to change. But what I want you to take away from this is there was so much learning, there was so much value, there's so much growth for us and potentially for our businesses, right? And building an audience and getting a following and creating conversations with people who may be interested in coaching. And it all happened because we're willing to just jump in. We're willing to learn about the opportunity that could be Clubhouse by doing it, not by reading about it, not by researching it, not by talking to other people that did it, but by doing it ourselves. So there are opportunities for you to do the exact same thing today, right? What is something today that you've been wanting to make progress on, you've been wanting to figure out or work through, that you've been researching, you've been asking, you've been waiting for an answer? What if you just trusted yourself and tried it? What's the worst that can happen? And if you're okay with what's the worst that can happen, then what are you waiting for? What's holding you back? Let's just get at it and get it done. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. I always enjoy doing this every single week. If you have something going on in your life, in your business that you want to talk through, hit me up. Let's have a casual conversation around it. If you have questions about coaching, hit me up. And if you want to check out what we're doing on Clubhouse, I will always post a link through my emails. Make sure you're on my list over at darylsweeney.com. And I'll post those on my social media channels. So with that, I will let you guys go. I will see you next week. And if something's going on for you, let's talk before then. See you later.